Is it just three of us?
Yep.
Today?
Yeah, just.
Okay,
Whenever you're ready, come in.
ready? Okay. Good evening, afternoon. I'll call us to order at 5:03. And before we jump into the agenda, I am informed that we are going to have a moment of silence to honor the passing of poet Peter J. Harris. I'll turn it over to you, Nikki.
And I'm gonna provide a little bit of information about Peter, who was one of our former poet laureate. We were informed over the weekend that the way. So Peter J. Harris is a journalist, writer, author, editor, radio host, producer, artist, and poet. He was also a family man, a father, and a friend. And in all aspects of his life, he absorbed the world around him and reflected in his art, helping to create, quote, sonic tapestry. Peter grew up on the East Coast, and after graduating college, he worked as a journalist for the Baltimore Afro-American, the longest-running family-owned African-American newspaper in the country. He reported on the cultural and very political scene of the 1970s, where he met many poets, including the writer Lucille Clifton. As a journalist, Peter liked the uncensored options and freedom that poetry afforded, but he didn't pursue an MFA, embarking instead on his own path to knowledge, attending performances, reading books about poetry, and writing. Well, the great thing about art, he said, is how unpredictable it all is. After moving to Los Angeles in 1991, he found inspiration from his contemporaries at the world stage, a performance art space in Leimert Park Village, the center of Los Angeles's African-American cultural community. Peter also hosted and produced a radio show for KPFK 90.7 from 1999 to 2004. During the show, he invited various poets, from academic to street, to read or perform poems to music from diverse cultural backgrounds. Peter's path was often difficult, but his art continued to grow. In 2015, his book of poetry, Bless the Ashes, won the Penn Oakland Josephine Miles Award. His book of personal essays, The Black Man of Happiness, In Pursuit of My Unalienable Right, won the American Book Award. He founded the Black Man of Happiness Project and wrote the blog Reeking Happiness. He also authored Safe Arms, 20 love and erotic poems, and Song Again. From 2022 to 2024, he served as Altadena Poet Laureate Editor-in-Chief and was also named a 23-24 Academy of American Poets Laureate Fellow, an honor he shared with his Altadena co-poet laureate, Carla Singman. During an interview earlier this year, Peter had this advice for emerging writers and poets, quote, study and read eclectically. Let the poetry push you around. Love the art form and humble yourself to it. Thank you, Peter, for sharing your art with our community. We are humbled and honored to have known you. Now we'll take a moment of silence.
Thank you, Nikki, for sharing that. Right. So I'll next start with the land acknowledgement. The Altadena Library District acknowledges its presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples. Altadena is located on the stolen homelands of the Hamonga tribal band. The traditional territory of the Gabrielino Tongva is referred to as Tavangar, which includes the areas currently known as Los Angeles County, Riverside County, West San Bernardino County, parts of Orange County, as well as the 4 Southern Channel Islands. Entities such as the U.S. government and non-native settlers have subjected the Gabrielino Tonga peoples to historic and continuing injustices, including genocide, forced displacement, and cultural and linguistic erasure. Altadena Library commits to learning, educating, and informing its staff and residents of present-day Altadena about the rich histories, vibrant communities, and culture of the Gabrielino Tonga people, present and past, through our collection, development, resources, and program offerings. Okay. I will now do a roll call. Trustee Andrew.
Here.
I am here. Trustee.
I am also here.
Great. Okay. Then is there any reordering of our agenda? Oh, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
I second.
Okay, all right, we are all in favor. Is there any public comment? Marina?
There is not.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Moving on to the consent calendar, may I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, we're all in favor?
Gary, you and I are just gonna have to switch back and forth.
Yeah. Move and second it, you're gonna switch back and forth. It's only two.
There's
you
only two of us,
today.
We're movers and shakers apparently.
There you go.
Exactly.
That's right, I like it.
Okay. All right, moving on, then we'll go to item 5, which is department updates and special presentations. We don't have any presentations. Any comment or questions on the department updates?
I just note, as always, I really appreciate all the level of detail in the updates. It was fun to see some of the suggestions that came in and the responses that we had to them. I thought that was a neat feature, especially because, you know, we usually don't see those. They're handled with staff and whatnot, but it was fun to see what people are asking for and what our responses are. So I thought that was really enjoyable. Thank you for including that.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, when you talk about comments, when you talk about some of the public comments, there's one that struck me, and I hope I'm in the right section, about a dearth of Latin American titles.
Exactly, yeah.
And I thought that was pretty neat the way that you phrased it, because it's the first time I've seen it phrased like that in the listing. So that was pretty good. I'd like to see that level of involvement when they're done.
Thank you. Okay,
Oh, one
Yes.
more thing, if you don't mind, and that
yes,
is,
please.
I thought a website uptime or AOD website current uptime is 99.83%, which was an amazing thing, David. So good work on that.
Thank you. I will say ironically, since writing that, we've had some issues with our current hosting platform, so
Mhm.
we're
Yeah.
continuing to have some. Although that there was a good amount of solid uptime, so we're actually working on a potential to move our hosting platform because of the issues that we've had kind of shown in that graphic. There was, like I said, some decent amount of stability there, but unfortunately, we've seen some issues, so we're working toward potentially moving to another hosting platform.
I will never do that again. Then, sorry.
It's fine, I thought it was ironic too.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what he.
Yeah.
And I thought it was me, I was having such a difficult time with the website. Okay, thank you for those comments, Terry and Katie. Okay, moving on to, informational reports. We don't have any from our support groups, so we can move on to administrative updates.
Thank you. Good evening, trustees, staff, members of the public, all the many people watching online, I'm sure. So not a lot to share right now with recruitment. We did have a resignation of one of our library aides who's in a really busy nursing program. Wish her well. I do believe I got an email today with the person that was identified as the selected candidate. So that's exciting. I will be sending out the conditional offer hopefully tonight. So we'll onboard them as soon as possible. just as a reminder, our library aides are the ones that check in, check out, shelve, basically the backbone of the system, keeping things running. Luckily, it's only a 12-hour position, so our other aides have been able to work extra hours to make up the difference because we continue to be very busy. We're still in discussion with the adult services manager candidate and hope to have more news to share about that soon. And we did post, and I didn't include it, a part-time facilities worker position. We posted that a couple weeks ago. Haven't got an overwhelming response, I don't think. So Catalina did a lot of legwork to share it with like local vocational schools, community colleges, and places where we thought it might appeal. I think maybe what we'll have to do next is like reach out to some other cities and see if they can post. I mean, it is a 19-hour position per week, but pays over $27 an hour. So like, I think it'd be a really good position for someone going to school or something like that. So if you know of anyone that might be interested, please get the word out. Because again, just like most positions, we keep reviewing applications and we'll keep it open until filled. Okay, so marketing, Bryn's been super busy. I'm sure you saw from her update. Big thanks to her for all the work she did on Taste Medina, which I'm going to touch on a little bit later in my report. But, you know, for putting the 4-page program together, designing the table tents, signage, promotion, you name it. She did a lot of work to help that event be such a success. She also continues to update our next chapter webpage, which, as a reminder, is our building projects page on the website. If people ever have questions, please refer them there. She was also very actively involved with planning the local California Clean Air Day / Walk to School Day back on October 2nd. And they had a couple more throughout that week. Here, her and I kicked it off at 7 a.m., which was rough. I'm not a morning person. Everybody knows that. But we did have it was between 200 and 225 students, administrators, and parents that walked to school from here, from either Altadena Arts, Elliott, Magnet, and Pasadena Waldorf. So very successful. Big thanks to Bryn for all of her work putting that together and promoting it, which is why we had such a big crowd. She's also been putting together some library ads for us as those have come up. We have one in the recent Altadena Music Theater Guys and Dolls program, as well as one for the 22nd annual Women for Racial Justice Breakfast last week. I did want to point out, she put together a trifold brochure for November program celebrating Native American Heritage Month. We'll try to get one for each of you. We're doing a lot of great programs around that in November. And then continues to be a really good partner to the Town Council Communications Committee, who's working on all kinds of things to update their website and create greater awareness about all the things that they do. So I appreciate her doing that because it's a little bit of a commitment as well. In terms of other administrative updates, just real briefly, I last did one-on-one meetings with my indirect reports, which is like 20 of the staff back in April. So decided to do those again at the beginning of October. Overall, everyone's like feeling very positive. They were really good meetings and it was nice to connect with everyone. I did type up an email last week to share some of the suggestions and thoughts that staff had with the management team. We also had another very successful professional development training with Jennifer Coyle on September 27th. We did a 2-hour session with staff back in June, and they expressed wanting to dig deeper into receiving feedback and coaching, as well as giving feedback and coaching. And I felt like this one went really well. It was 4 hours, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. So we split the staff up and they were able to do a lot more activities and role playing around it. So I did send out a survey. The surveys came back very positive. So we'll continue down the path. And one thing that was really great with the survey as well is they provided additional training topics that I think we'll explore with Jennifer moving forward. As I think everybody is aware, week and a half ago, we took everyone to California Library Association conference for our staff development day. That was really fun. I think everyone had a super good time, and I'm going to figure out some way to share that out with the board, probably in the board package / presentation next month. But it was very cool to have 28 of us.
Yeah.
Plus Camila was there. We got together for lunch and but I think it was cool that staff that maybe otherwise wouldn't get a conference experience really got to like go to conference. So thank you to the board for helping support that. A lot of fun. It was fun. Yeah, it's so fun to get to see people from all over the place. So Acona, at the end of September, Katie and I, attended the Acona meeting to give an update on the 2 library projects. Just wanted to, we're trying to come up with any opportunity to inform and engage with the community about the projects, especially leading up to main library closing next year. We don't want to catch anybody off guard as much as we possibly can. We were very lucky, in my opinion, that it was the same meeting that they had, LA County Planner, who's the planner on our projects as well, present about the Poly Sports Field Complex, which has since died since that meeting, but it attracted a ton of attention. So the room was packed, the Zoom room was packed. So like, it was a rapt audience for us to share about the board or the building projects. So thank you, Katie, for presenting with me. And if you can think of other opportunities for us to get out, happy to attend other meetings and share, just because again, different audiences will hopefully share out with people they know as well. We also worked in coordination, basically provided space for Neighbors Building a Better Altadena and the Pasadena League of Women Voters to have a candidate forum here for our library trustees. So I brought that up because remember, early voting is happening and election day is next Tuesday, November 5th. So everybody please go vote. Real briefly, the annual Taste of Dena fundraising event on September 28th, I thought was wonderful. Thank you to everyone who was there that night. Amazingly, they had over 250 people in attendance, and the final numbers that came in is that it fundraised almost $50,000 after expenses, which is by far the most successful one that has happened in the history of the event. I was just looking at a past board package because of the painting.
Yeah,
And the one in 2019 raised 18,000.
wow.
So it's just steadily growing. I did put some really cute pictures in the board package if you want to check those out. But I do really think it's a testament to how much people are really excited about the libraries and everything that we're doing and want to like show up and donate to the work that we're doing. Briefly, I talked about our co-exploring it. So Lester and Seba have been doing a fantastic job with their season of events. Thank you to both of you who we're going to be appointing tonight for your collaborative and inspired programming so far. It's really attracting a lot of people, and I really is a testament to how great the program is for the community. At CLC, I have to plug the mentorship program. This is its first year where library staff as mentees or mentors are going to be paired up from across our 40 library systems. The deadline is Thursday, so I'm going to be harassing people throughout the rest of this week to apply. I'm the chair of the committee that's sort of leading the effort and going to be working to pair the mentors and mentees. So really excited about this opportunity for people to professionally develop and connect with others from across these 40 systems. Let's see. What else? So California Special District Association, I've been serving on the San Gabriel Valley Formation Committee to establish our own chapter of just special districts in San Gabriel Valley. We hosted their meeting last week. Thank you to Katie for speaking at the event or at the luncheon to talk about what we have going on here, as well as to Ashley for touring people that were interested. I purposely wanted to get everybody here before the renovation, and then we'll host it again down the road. And I was asked, and I'm going to serve on the board for the first 2 years as the chapter kicks off and gets going. So, for Building a Better Altadena, showing up for Racial Justice Panel, we partnered with one of our new groups, which is Showing Up for Racial Justice Altadena, to host a conversation about the history of the African-American community in Pasadena and Altadena and how it has been affected by redlining and forms of intentional bias, as Ashley mentioned. They had over 70 patrons in attendance, and 2 hours was not long enough. Many stayed an additional hour to ask questions and learn more about the actions they could take. Lots of work to still do, but thank you for your work on that, Ashley, and informing community members. Ashley's also been very active with the Pasadena Early Childhood Hub Network and was selected to brainstorm the next phase of the Hub Networks which are trying to arrange training opportunities for frontline staff to learn more about each hub. Part of this effort is so that they can knowledgeably share community resources with the people coming into the libraries and get that information in frontline staff hands. So I really appreciate her dedicated service to this partnership, and I know the residents of Altadena are going to be the beneficiaries of this continued collaboration. I'm almost done, I promise. So as for statistics, thank you to Camila for pointing out that I made a big mistake on the stat sheet. If you look under virtual visits to library website, we didn't go from 46,000 down to 8,000. We had 38,816, which I will update for the next report. I do think that number has gone down because of issues that we've been experiencing at the website, but again, David's on it. We're also going to be submitting the annual public library survey, which is that big statistical sheet that we have to put together for the California State Library this week. And I'll plan to bring that back to the board again at a future meeting. And go Dodgers. Let's win the World Series, please. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
I just have a comment, it's not a question, just, I always share, I try to reshare the, different events that are happening at the library on social media when I see them, and I always get such positive feedback, and so recently I shared the one, with the history of the African American community of Altadena, and several people were like, your library is so cool. And I'm like, yes, I know. So I just wanted to give shout outs, you know, you all continue to do just amazing work. So thank you.
I'll share that with the staff.
Yes. Okay, any questions for Nikki on the administrative report update?
One thing that I didn't say a little earlier was, it kind of ties into what we're talking about here. Sophia Aguilar got the mayor of Monterey Park to come and look at the unveiling of her library, apparently. I'm thinking now, how in the world did that happen? The mayor of this big city coming to take a look at a library event on the street. You know, it just shows you times have changed and we're really doing a good job community-wide. So that was one that I really thought was pretty cool.
It's a very cool looking little free library too, though.
Yeah.
Like they've made it and yeah, it's really cute. I gotta go by there. I don't think I live very far from her.
All right, shall we move to financials? And then we have Trustee with us today, tonight. Hello.
Good evening, everybody. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, I'm getting a few messages here. So tonight we presented in the packet both August and September financials. And we normally present 1 month in arrears, but because of the year end and the audit, we're presenting about 2 months behind. So tonight, just for presentation, we'll have August and September in here, but I will just go through September because we're 1/4 of the way through the year, the district is. So if you turn to page 48, we'll go through the budget to actual figures. And what you'll note is with 25% of the way through the year, most of the lines are falling right where they belong. Of course, property tax revenue, we do not see that allocation. The district does not until December. So that number will remain low and you temporarily draw from your reserves until that funding comes in. So we'll get that updated in the next couple of months. But in terms of expenditures, most lines are right where they belong. A couple of lines that we'll be talking about all year have to do with prepayments, pretty much. Workers' compensation, the UAL payment has been made in full. If you look at the insurance line on page 25, When you get into information technology, you'll notice a few of those lines are over. It all has to do with the renewal of subscriptions. We don't allocate it out over every month. We want to show departments when it's been spent so that it helps them manage their budget and they know what's really left. So we just use the narrative to let you know why those lines appear to be trending over budget, but they really are all in line with their budgets. And one line I skipped over, I guess I want to go back to, is line 21, that discretionary payment. Now that the audit is pretty much complete, we haven't had any adjusting entries and haven't heard anything that doesn't indicate that everything we presented will be final. I will be sending Nikki a note to start that class account for the UAL. The unfunded portion of your pension liability. I believe it's right around the $175,000 amount. I just want to run a couple other things to make sure we've got everything included in that. So you will see that when you see your October financials. That figure will be in there. In addition to that, I've been looking, Nikki and I received a compliance report back. We've got a firm that looks at all of your funding and compares it to your pension policy. And you do have a target percentage of funding that pension. We're a little lower for one piece of it than we'd like to be. So we'll bring back at perhaps the next meeting some recommendations on what we can do or what timeline we want to use to fund that a little further. One of the reasons I haven't been concerned about that is because all of the reports that we get, the actuarial reports, are based on a measurement date and evaluation date, and they're always 1 to 2 years behind. And we know that the last year and even this year, we've seen great investment returns. So I think by the time those reports catch up, you're going to be funded more than the actual report is showing. But regardless, we need to be aware of it. We need to look at the figures. So Nikki, G, and I will be meeting to go through some of the figures and make a recommendation to you. But for now, we leave that as a discretionary payment. We've only budgeted $100,000 for FY25. It may turn out that we want to up that, increase that a little bit during mid-year discussions. But we're just in the preliminary part of deciding what to do with that. But did want to draw your attention to give you an update that you'll see the FY24 funding soon, and then we'll talk about 25. Okay, other than those lines that I referenced, again, line 49 in library materials, that is another line that it's mostly prepayment. Other things are just tied, like programming is always tied to timing, the date of the programs. It takes a little longer before we start seeing some of those expenses come in. But in terms of revenue to date, you are year to date using almost 1.5 million of your reserves, but your property tax revenue is well over that. So that's just a temporary issue. Any questions before I move on to the donations and grants?
Trustee? It's Nikki.
Yes. Mhm.
So just, it's not a question, it's a comment, that the 175 that you
Mhm.
mentioned, I believe means that when the budget was done for the year, we were in a surplus of 175,000.
Correct.
We're going into a sub account in class for the unfunded accrued liability account. So just to clarify that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. The last preliminary report I gave showed only about $6,000, but that's because we were waiting for the county to finalize property tax revenue. And now that that's in, you're correct. Your actual revenue, you ended the year with revenue over expenses of approximately 175,000. And the board had already approved to fund that line after we had that final number. So thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, that's a lot better than 6.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. It always takes the county just a little while to catch up, and then they have a schedule where they actually allocate it out. So we wanted to make sure that number was final though before we did anything and anticipated anything. Okay, so page 50 in your PDF in your packet is the donations and grants. And again, nothing to really point out here other than some of the funding has not yet been received, but that's typical. It takes a few months before we see the library foundation's contribution. The California State Building Equity Based Summers was something that Ashley had received, but we didn't know it at the time of the budget, so that's a line you'll notice. And then literacy services, I believe that funding has already come in. It wasn't here by September, but I think it was received perhaps in October, excuse me. So that will show fully funded next time as well. And then expenditures, your wages, your operating is pretty much on target. Again, it's your programming and materials that you'll see throughout the year, and a lot of that toward the end of the year, just based on timing. We see a lot of activity in the summer months. So you are showing, pluses and minuses on that last line, but again, that's just due to timing of expenditures or funding. It's always the district's goal to spend every dollar of the donated funds. So by year end, they're always spent in total, and that's zero, excuse me. We don't add anything to a reserve for those. The next page is your combined summary, which isn't real exciting at 25% in, but it is still there so you can see which lines in one place, a snapshot of what's funded by general fund and where your donation and grants are going. Okay, next couple pages are building projects. So I've broken out the expenses a little bit more to tie to the budget. We were showing this by Bob Lucas in Maine, and it's gotten to the point now where it's getting a little more complicated. There's a few more expenditures, and so I've tied the budget exactly to what was approved by area, and then we'll use the next slide to talk a little bit more in details in some of those pages. And then when the committee meets, I think it's your building or CFD committee, we actually have a report that goes through every vendors, all the vendors under each category. And then at least quarterly, if not monthly, I think it'll probably be monthly now, Jennifer Pearson and I have a conversation to make sure that we're in sync, that the dollars I'm reporting for actuals tie to her budget and her project management. And the last we met, I don't know, it's been a couple weeks now, and we're all in line. So we just want to make sure that she's managing it and not missing any expenditures and vice versa. But as of right now, the building on line 20, your building projects ending balance is about 24.5 million. 20 of that still being the bond proceeds, 20.7, excuse me, and 3.8 being your grant proceeds. Those will start, decreasing as we get into the construction in the spring for the main library. Any questions on any of that, any of the budget to actual reports? Okay.
Nope.
Last report that I'll speak to is just your balance sheet. And again, you can see that your total assets are right around the $34 million mark. Most of that being what you have for the building. And you can see where everything is invested. It's all spelled out. How much is your general fund, your for your grants, your capital projects, and then your bond proceeds and such. The only entry that isn't quite updated here because we're waiting for the final audit, your net pension liability and related entries, those stay on the books all year. We only update those annually. They are still not updated because we're working with the auditors on that. So the next report you see will show those, and they'll be more favorable, I believe, based on what I've seen in the valuation reports. So no concerns, everything on target, and just ramping up for more of the construction activity. Any questions on any of the reports tonight? Okay, great.
Looks good.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Right. We will.
Are we
Yes.
doing the, just a question, are we doing the audit in November or December?
I can't remember.
Okay.
I feel like we set it for November, but that was before we moved the meeting.
We did,
Right.
and I'm sorry, I haven't signed off yet. It is November. We should have a draft report next week, Nikki, so that she can still meet your November date.
So, just so you know, Christy, we moved the
Oh.
November to the 22nd instead of the 25th, because the 25th is the week of Thanksgiving, but the
Okay.
22nd PM. So
Okay,
hopefully-
that shouldn't be a problem at all. What I just need to do is check that date with Paul.
I wasn't sure if it would work with him or not.
Yeah, I will. I will check with him. It shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
He's been pretty flexible, but yeah, I'll definitely check with him. Okay. All right, now I'm signing off. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too, so thanks.
Good, okay. Then we will move on. There are no standing committee reports. We have a report from the facilities committee.
All right, so everything is in the report, but I did want to highlight a couple items that are in the good news column. So you may have heard that we were awarded a $50,000 grant from the Pasadena Community Foundation for the Bob Lucas project, which is awesome. Super good news, and a big thank you to the foundation for all their hard work in making that happen. We also, it's not in the report, because we found out later, but we are also aware that there is an additional $25,000 grant from an anonymous donor for the Bob Lucas project. So that's $75,000
Wow.
in total grants for that project, which is just in the last several weeks, which is fantastic news. Nikki and I have been working with some donors who are interested in making some donations towards perhaps the main library project. So I'm hopeful that I'll have some good news to share with you on that in November, but really positive, and we're very grateful to the support groups for their help on everything. Construction of Bob Lucas is on pace. It's in good shape. We're on time. No drama to report, only good news. Everything is looking solid. We are continuing to work with the county to figure out how to streamline our environmental review process. There's been some back and forth on that, but we're hopeful. They've kind of put some balls back in our court and said, actually, we're really busy. Why don't you handle it? So we're hopeful that we'll be able to move that process along a little bit more rapidly. We're planning to bring the community focus group back together in the early part of 2025 for some updates on building projects, and also hopefully at that point to do a walkthrough at Bob Lucas. So if any of you would like to come, it will be fun, and we will look at it, and it will be pretty exciting. So that's what I got. I'm happy to answer any questions.
When was it, the walkthrough?
Like
Haven't
February,
scheduled it?
probably. We haven't scheduled it yet. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, it feels you got your foot in the door a little bit in terms of, you know, the work that they're turning over to you to get done, that you mentioned there.
I will go to somebody's house to get this secret process. Yeah, no, we do. We, I commend Jennifer and Nikki, because I feel like every Monday we have the same conversation, which is like, why hasn't the county done anything yet? Why haven't we heard from them? Why haven't they answered this email?
Yeah.
But we've been very persistent in trying to make progress with them, just because we know this needs to keep moving, and if we let it sit, it will sit forever. So yeah, hopefully we're able to report a start date for the notice of preparation by next month. That's certainly my hope.
That's good work, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for facilities committee? I don't believe we have a liaison report. Right?
Not for me.
Okay. And no unfinished business, so we'll move to the new business, first being the appointment of our 24-26 Altadena Library District Poet Laureates. I turn that over to you, Nikki, or Catalina to present?
I'll go ahead and present. So that item, I'm sorry. Just had it done. Oh, geez. Okay, so in 2022, the district crafted and approved a resolution. It was resolution 2022-13, And basically it establishes, the ability for our board to appoint our poets laureates so that they have, an official status primarily to be able to apply for grants. Further the work that they do for the district, we can provide them with monetary opportunities and just an expansion, of in the community. We saw great success on our last poets laureates after we did formally appoint them. They were able to apply for so many different things, and again, bring new services to the community. So this is just this is a formality for those purposes. The board is basically approving, the appointment based off the resolution that we already passed, which will be in perpetuity, something that you're able to do. And yeah, so the recommendation is that you approve or formally appoint our 2022-2026 poets laureates who are here this evening. We have Lester and Seva, who I do invite to, speak a little after your appointment if you'd like. And introduce yourselves to the board.
Yes. Are there any questions or comments before we officially appoint them?
Just that this is such a privilege, like this is one of the really fun things I think we get to do as the board, and thank you both so much for being here tonight. Thank you for all the service that you contribute to the district and to everybody who is an enthusiastic poet or aspiring poet. So this is always like so much fun to do, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like poetry is the medium that's really moving culture along right now. When I was a kid, it was, Steppenwolf or somebody like that. And now it feels like our entire country is more cultured because of the lead role that poetry is playing, at least in my observation. So I'm with Katie. It's great to have an institution like that embedded in what we do. So thanks for that.
Thank you. Okay,
I would like to move to that we appoint our 2024-2026 Poets Laureate.
I second.
all in favor? Aye, thank you, and would you all have any words or poetry to share with us?
Go to the podium and have,
If you like, no
If you want
pressure,
to, yeah,
no pressure.
I don't need that. I would just say, thank you. It's an honor when you reach my age, you start to think about things. And one of the things I thought about was, this will go into your obituary. And so I feel good. I feel good about that, particularly since I knew Peter Harris.
Yeah.
We first met at the world stage back in the early 2000s, and I was one of the poets on his radio program where I read and he played music, actually made a CD of it, and it was quite, and still is quite memorable. So I've been here in Altadena for over 30 years, and it's an honor for me, and so I thank the staff, and I thank you. And I would just say, I just checked the score. Dodgers are up 2-0
All
at the
right.
top of the second inning because Freddie Freeman hit another.
Another.
home run.
Ready, bringing it this.
You better
Man.
slow down for somebody to start checking his credentials.
I just want to say thank you. It's just really been really fun. It's been really special. The library staff is amazing. The president, the history that Carla, Peter, and all the people that came before, the poets that came before them has been really fabulous. The publication, just all of the structures that are there that make it so easy for us to step in and just bring in our ideas and communities and work that we do has been really exciting. I've really, really enjoyed the last 3 months, 4 months. It's been very special. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
I can't say enough about the stuff. Just working with them has been amazing. Likewise.
Thank you again. Thank you for being here.
And for the Dodger update.
Yes.
I do have my Dodger earrings on. I don't know. If you noticed.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, good job.
And you were in blue.
And
so
blue,
we're-
yeah.
Blue, Dodger blue. That was on purpose.
Okay. All right, thank you so much for that. Let's go ahead and move on to review and approval of the library app recommendation.
Hello, trustees and members of the public watching. David Zierba, IT manager for the Altadena Library District. I'm here before you bringing back a proposal for district director to contract with a vendor for a library app and CMS platform. So we last spoke in August. We brought the RFP and it was officially approved. We went out to bid through our platform BidNet and received 5 total proposals. Unfortunately, one was for the wrong RFP completely, which was interesting. Another unfortunately didn't include the cost section, which detailed all of what we were looking for in services, so they were not considered. So we did consider 3, one of which didn't provide any references, which were pretty crucial in for us to be able to understand how they could fulfill the needs that we had. Ultimately, as you read through, we had a clear decision with Communico. My Libro did come with a very solid RFP, but overall with the cost and the breadth, or I should say the width of services that Communico provided, it was a clear choice that they were able to not only offer some app services for those that are currently using the app. Their app is a really solid looking app, very clean. They just recently updated it, and many of their references showed that new app feature and all the features that were in there. But also we were looking at expanding some of the services into one centralized platform to make our lives easier, and they have a full deck of services. So ultimately that was the selection that the committee made up of myself, Bryn, Alfredo, and Ashley and Nikki took a look at. So the staff recommends that the board authorize the district director to contract with Communico to provide services for the library app and CMS. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, David. Questions?
Oh, we're gonna save a bunch of money. That's pretty cool. You mentioned that you were thinking about moving our web hosting over to them. Does that feel like a good solution? Are you happy with their offerings, or does it feel like you might wanna, like, do we need a separate RFP basically for web hosting, do you think, or?
It's not clear yet. The web hosting part is their newest product. So we did, as part of our check, we checked the references, and some of them said that that this is their newest product. So there were some features that you might expect from normal web hosting platforms that do like a comprehensive web hosting solution that probably are not quite there yet. So if we're able to establish a relationship with them, we would review what they have available, see if it would be a good relationship to build out that component of it. And if they're able to support our needs. If not, we've already have like another plan that we're currently working on just in case, because of that reference that we heard, it wasn't all exactly what we were looking for, and
Totally.
some of the details that we might need may not be there yet. But we're going to explore that and see what is available but we already have another plan in place in case they don't have all the details that we need.
Sure. Makes sense.
It is a consideration for sure, but it wasn't the deciding factor by any stretch.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It looks like they had a very strong showing, so that's exciting.
You're feeling good about it?
Feel very good about it.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah. Okay, if there are no other questions, can I get a motion that we authorize the district director to engage in a contract with Communico for app and CMS services?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right.
Thanks.
Good luck. Okay, moving on to the next item, which is review and approval of the Board of Trustees policy update.
Yes, so that would be me. So the policy was last updated in May 2021. There were very minor updates from what I understand from that one. So I really wanted to go through and mainly add the information that amends the the remote, meeting amendments that have taken place, so AB 361, AB 2449, which pretty dramatically amended, teleconferencing rules under the Brown Act. So I did add those in there. I also updated some public comments instructions that were outdated that didn't address virtual attendance to meetings. There was also an incorrect naming of Robert's Rules of Order as our parliamentary procedure.
Yeah.
Because in our board handbook, we actually have instructions for Rosenbergs. I think that was just a typo. So I corrected that. And I also added the district in the very beginning of the board handbook. So I have the map in there. I also have the link that the public can go to, type their address in and find out which district they're in. That's why the web address is not very pretty. It's just so people can copy and paste if it's necessary. Or they're able to look that up. When I was going through this, it also made me realize how outdated the actual board handbook which is separate from the policy. So I'm gonna work on a new format for that so that when people go to the website, they'll actually be able to click on all of those things separately and they'll be updated yearly as opposed to looked at a few years later.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be one of my responsibilities. I'll make sure I'll get that out to you so that you have the most updated information. And of course, I'll also put it together as a PDF for new board members or just for anybody who is requesting to have all their information in one big PDF. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer those.
Thank you for the level of detail in which you look at these things, Catalina. Appreciate that.
Try.
No,
Make sure to
absolutely.
do lots of research.
I had a couple of questions.
Yes.
So I'm curious about your thoughts on the vacancy portion.
Yes.
I kind of went back and forth on this. Do you think that we need language that says if a vacancy occurs, the replacement appointed trustee has to come from that district? Like, I think it's sort of self-evident, but it doesn't actually say it in there.
I think it's a good idea to explicitly state that.
I think it
So I can
probably
make that
is.
amendment.
Yeah, like probably in 2.2, some language to that effect. And also in the like special election thing. I also think that, I don't know what the LA County registrar's rules are, but I assume that they are the same, which is just you have to be 18 years or older, you have to be registered to vote at an address in the district. One thing I don't know the answer to is now that we are by district, what happens if you are like the trustee for an area and then you move? Like, do you have to be resident I think the answer, and I don't know this, I think the answer is you have to be resident at the time of your election/appointment. I don't know that you're required to maintain that residency for the length of your tenure.
Yeah, that's
But-
the county registrar, rule that applies to any by district. I can explicitly state that. I think for clarification, that'd probably be a good idea if somebody's reading through it. I actually don't know the answer to that question either.
Yeah.
I feel like we asked during the districting.
If we did, I forgot.
I feel like we did ask Kristen that and that. Like, and then, like, let's say, yes, as long as you're elected, if you move, but then if you run again, you wouldn't be able to.
You wouldn't be able to
run
do it. That's
in
what
that same district.
I think that's right.
I think that's what she told us, but we'll double check.
So maybe
Yeah.
we should have language in there that's just like at the time of election/appointment.
Right.
And we don't have to say like, you can move to, Canada and it's fine afterwards, but.
Public certainly, but that wouldn't go well, over well with the library district.
Well, you would quickly fall afoul of those teleconferencing rules. And then the only other thing, and this is super minor, is I just noted that in our public comment section in the board policies, it says public comments are 3 minutes. In the agendas anymore, it says 2 minutes. So whichever one we're doing, we should just be consistent.
So let's be up just for discussion of the board. Do you feel that 2 minutes is an appropriate amount of time for public comment or 3 minutes? Do you have proposal for an alternative time?
It's always been 2, right?
It's usually been 3 in the past.
Has
I
it?
don't- Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it was 3 for a long time, and then I think we switched it to 2.
Town council, it's 2, I believe, but they get a lot more public comment than we
Yeah.
do.
I have no strong feeling either way.
Nor do I.
If so, we can go with what's already in the board policies and I can update the agendas.
I think we can leave it at 3. If somebody wants to make a public comment, I'm happy to listen to them for 3 minutes. It's great.
It's fair.
Yeah,
Okay.
Plus, there's a certain level of satisfaction, I believe, for them to get their whole point out, you know?
yeah.
And it takes longer than they thought, no, you gotta hurry, you know, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
2 can be short.
2 is quick. Yeah, let's leave it at 3.
Okay. Any other questions? I think Terry
Yeah,
had some.
I had a question.
Yes.
You know, one of the things it does is it defines, see, the primary task of the library, I'm putting that in, is defining the mission and vision of the Altadena Public Library District. And one thing that I noticed when I was talking to friends about an opening on the board and they should apply for it, somebody said, that's great, we'd really like to get in there and, you know, make suggestions about what books they're supposed to have. And I realized that when you were doing this, a lot of, that was going around the country. There was the ban the books thing and all this fighting going on. And I just wonder if there's another line of description that needs to go in that area that, or if we don't need it, it doesn't matter to me, but or just to be clear to people what the job entails, which it might be, less than just, actually more than just what they say. I'm gonna make myself very clear, but.
I think I
Okay.
understand what you're trying to get at, like making it clear to the public. And that may be something that would need to be separate from the board policies themselves. And I'll take ideas for that. I mean, that's something that I can work on to market that to the public. I just went to a CSDA board secretary conference and I have lots of ideas. And one of the big things that they talked about was communication. I think that's a great idea to kind of inform the public about what the board does, what their role is in the community, especially since we're by district now. So I can make that into a project if you would like to put that somewhere on our website, to talk about it more to the public, to make time during, board meetings, to like, maybe there's a snippet here and there about the different things that the board does and their responsibilities, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that. That's exactly what I was thinking about. Thank you.
Great feedback, team. Any other feedback for Catalina?
No, super detailed. Thank you so much for going through it. Definitely needed it.
Okay. So then, the motion would be that we approve the board policy update with the suggestions that were made, right?
The suggested amendments stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think we need to see it. We could bring it back again. I think it's fine. You could make those
Yes,
switches.
I've got them written down.
That's fine with
so.
me.
Okay.
Yeah, so moved.
Gary, how you feel about a second that we approve the,
Oh, I'm sorry, I was thinking about something else.
oh, do you have another comment before
No,
we do
no.
it? Okay,
Yeah, I think that's enough. And yes, I second that
okay.
motion.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes, okay, great. Thank you. All right, so next we have review and approval of the district holidays and closures for 2025.
Yes, so this is standard. We bring this every year. Get the holidays and closures, for your review. We also have the early closure, which is probably the biggest change to this calendar this year, because we anticipate that, the Christmas tree laying lighting ceremony will again be the first Saturday of the year. If that needs to be adjusted, we can do that, as it comes to our attention next year.
Okay, looks good. Can we get a motion to approve the calendar or the holidays and closures calendar?
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
So Terry moves, Katie seconds this time.
Yeah.
All right, and we're all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, good. And then, last new business, review and approval of the 2025 Board of Trustees calendar, meeting calendar. Any comments or?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
It's just another standard item that we bring in.
Mhm.
And
Dates.
we'll point out that we did double check for any holidays that may interfere. Usually in September.
Yeah, that was
It
just a
doesn't
big
next
question.
year.
Mhm.
And we were proactive in rescheduling from the Thanksgiving week, because we feel like that probably will be the same next
Mhm.
year.
Perfect.
Can I get a motion to approve the 2025 meeting calendar, trustee meeting calendar?
So much.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, okay, thank you. All right, moving on to governance. We have general governance report, including a discussion of the appointment for an at-large trustee seat, which will expire in December of 2024.
Yes, so I just like to inform the public about the upcoming election, who's running for District 2 and District 5. This is the same reminder I had last month, but, just like to get that information out there. So for District 2, we have Camila Wilkerson, Tina H. Larno, and Jason Stebbings running. For District 5, we have Katie Clark and Martha House. And then I have the link there for people to look up the candidates in their areas. What I would like to get to is new in the governance report is the District 4 seat expiration on December 4th. I did look this up to make sure that we have the correct amount of time that we needed to appoint somebody in that position once it's vacated, and it's 60 days out. So this is not something that we're gonna have to do in December like we kind of thought
Great.
a few months ago. So we do have some time to get that together. Nikki and I will work on that, getting the applications out there, and like we did 2 years ago to seek out a appointment for that seat.
Yeah, my guess would be, it would be in January if we need to fill that seat.
Yes.
And technically, if I'm not mistaken, our preference is to appoint someone from District 4, but we don't.
Correct.
It is,
Correct.
it is
I don't-
technically
I
an
don't
at-large
think
seat,
we
right?
can require that.
That's a better way to say what I was trying to get at. Yeah, we can't mandate that it be a District 4 person, but it would be great if it were. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
Okay.
And this also prompted me, I saw on Facebook last night, someone had a question, I think you responded, Katie.
Yeah,
About why don't I see it on my ballot?
yeah, how come it's not on my ballot?
So,
Yeah.
just a reminder to the community that if you don't live in districts 2 or 5, you won't see it on your ballot because there's not a contested election in that district.
Right.
But I did think it was kind of adorable that people were sad they couldn't vote.
It was, and I also like that I forgot who, and I apologize for that, but another member of the community was like, here's how it works, and I was like, yay, that's great, people know how it works.
Yeah.
It was very encouraging.
So. Okay, thank you, Catalina. Is there any correspondence?
Nope.
Do we have any proposed future agenda items? No, okay. Then we are adjourned at 6:05.
Bam.
Thanks, Camille.
Woo. Good job, Camila.
We got time to catch